This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and our guest today is Hal Siler. Hal is the oldest active surveyor in North Carolina, former director of public works in the city of Sanford, and for 25 years served as head of the Sanford Area Chamber of Commerce. Hal, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I think to get us started, Hal, tell us something about your connection with Siler City.
Okay, the name Siler. First Siler came over from Germany about 1758, opened a little grist mill up there at Siler City. His grandson talked the railroad into building the railroad through there when it was built from Greensboro to Sanford. And he built a little station there called Siler Station. But then after they got 3 or 4 stores to go in, they named it Siler City. It's been Siler City ever since.
Uh-huh.
But I joke about that. It went right through the Siler farm. But the money went down one branch and I came down the other branch.
But you trace yourself back to 1758, and a lot has happened since then for sure.
Yeah, a lot of water's been over the dam since then.
Tell us about your family, Hal, your more recent family connections.
Well, I went back to Siler City to get my wife. She was actually from Silk Hope, Esther Teague Siler. And we have 3 children. Judy is the oldest, David is next, and Tom is the third one. We have 6 grandchildren and 1 special niece.
Are your children and grandchildren in the area?
One of them, David, is a human resources consultant, has an office here in town. In fact, he furnishes me an office, which I greatly appreciate. But then the son, Tom, works with a trucking firm in High Point. And Judy is an artist, and she was a teacher in the Johnson County public schools for 35 years in art.
I know that you're known not only as a surveyor, but a historian. And it seems to me that surveying and being a historian go hand in hand.
Well, surveyors involve history a lot of times. Well, in fact, all the time. You might be looking at recent history or trying to trace it on back to find where the land was first obtained and that sort of thing. So it's very much history. And I like history, especially like history of Sanford and Lee County. We have some interesting history to be as young as we are.
Well, your surveying profession has got a venerable history of its own, I think immediately of George Washington.
Yeah, of course, that was one of the main professions back when they were first developing the country. Somebody had to survey the land and cut it up in lots before you could build stores and houses and that sort of thing. So everybody knows George Washington was a surveyor. Not everybody knows that Abraham Lincoln was a surveyor.
Uh-huh.
He was also an attorney, but he was a surveyor as well.
Well, speaking of surveying, how has the profession changed over the years that you've been involved?
It's gone over into all electronics just about, or to a lot of electronics now. In fact, it's about walked off and left me because these machines that read off of satellites and that sort of thing, some of them cost $50,000. So it's rather expensive to get into surveying the way it needs to be operated now.
How did you first get into surveying?
Well, I came to Sanford working for a real estate man, and he would send me out with surveyors. I had done a little surveying while I was in the Army prior to that, but I worked with these surveyors for I.J. Morris, the real estate man, a few years, and then some of those surveyors says, why don't you go ahead and get your license and become a surveyor yourself? So I did and got my license and was registered in 1953. So I've been surveying as a legal professional since 1953.
Well, let's see. Sounds like about 64 years.
A long while ago.
What years were you in the Army?
45 to 47.
So you just missed World War II, I gather.
Well, I caught the end of it.
You did?
but I didn't go into combat. But I was wound up as a guard in Nuremberg, Germany, where the war crimes trials were held, and was there when they hung the Germans.
There's some real history there for sure.
Right.
How did you happen to make the transition from your real estate surveying to the director of public works?
They got interested here with Sanford. They was short of water. They just didn't have enough water in the summertime to get by with. Didn't have enough water to make the fire protection system work properly. And they wanted to study to see what we could do to solve this crisis with this water shortage. So they got thinking, well, a surveyor is going to have to survey to find out where raw water was and how to get it there. And they thought surveying profession might be a good thing to combine. So they hired me as public works director with the city. And one of my first jobs was to find out where we could get an adequate water supply for Sanford.
So did you find some water?
Yeah. This surveying firm that we hired made a study and suggested we go to the Cape Fear River for water, which we did and have ample water supply now.
Well, the city of Sanford, in fact, is known for its water treatment facility.
Yeah.
That happened under your watch, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah.
What was required in order to make that work from a public standpoint?
Well, actually, we saw the possibilities of going to the river. They came up with an estimate of what it would cost, and then, of course, in order to make it fly, we'd need a bond issue to pay for it. So we put it before the people of Sanford, and I say that's who's responsible for us having an adequate water supply is the people of Sanford, because they voted overwhelmingly to go to the river and pay the little extra cost for the water. And now we have that ample water supply.
I want to come back in a couple of minutes, Hal, to your move from the directorship of public works to your Chamber of Commerce work. But before we do that, let's talk about one of those songs that you've identified as special to you, House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That's interesting. Doesn't reflect me at all, because it's about gambling and a house of questionable attributes. And of course, I'm just an old farm boy from up in Chatham County. The only gambling we did was wondering whether it was going to rain so we'd have a corn crop or not. So we didn't do much gambling, drinking, and that sort of thing. But I just liked that House of the Rising Sun, the guitar work, and the music to it is very good. Grew up, went to the cowboy movies on Saturday afternoon sometime and listened to country and western music. So I was familiar with country songs where they lost their girlfriend, they've lost their house for gambling and that sort of thing, but that was not the way my people lived.
But you knew something about it from the movies.
Knew it from the movies.
In country and western singing. What singers were you familiar with?
Oh, Roy Acuff, Tennessee Williams.
Gene Autry?
Yeah, Gene Autry and Roy Rogers, we listened to it when we went to the western movies.
What did it take back when you were growing up to get to the movies?
Up till you were 16, I believe it was a dime. And then it went to a quarter. But we could go to the movies for a very reasonable price.
Well, let's go back to House of the Rising Sun and your recollections of movies for a dime. House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. Let's hear it. That was House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and our guest today, if you're just joining us, is Hal Siler. Hal is the oldest active registered surveyor in North Carolina, former director of public works for the city of Sanford, and longtime head of the Chamber of Commerce in Sanford. And Hal, you gave us a disclaimer with respect to that song. You said it doesn't reflect how you were brought up, but you appreciate the music.
Yeah, I like that guitar work.
That guitar work. It's some fine guitar work. Do you play musical instruments yourself?
Yeah, I play a harmonica, if you call that a musical instrument.
Harmonica's a great instrument. Let's, if we could, Hal, go back to your transition from the Director of Public Works to the Chamber of Commerce head. How did that happen?
Well, when we went to the river for water and built a new water and sewage treatment plant, all of a sudden industries started looking at Sanford and Lee County because most towns did not have adequate water and sewer. We had something to sell, and they started looking here, and the people with the Chamber of Commerce knew I had a big mouth, and they thought I could recruit some of these industries to come into Sanford and Lee County. So they came to me and hired me away from the city to go to work for the Chamber of Commerce in 1970, and I stayed there for 25 years.
So from 1970 to 1995, you were the voice of Sanford and Lee County.
Right.
What kind of changes did you see over those years?
Well, of course, starting off, we had right high unemployment. Robert's company had just closed down. We had high unemployment. But as we started to recruit these new industries, we saw the standard of living go up. We saw people have jobs. We saw retail sales increase. We saw new business and industries coming to the town. So it was an altogether upward trend after we got the water and sewer.
Real economic development then over
Right.
those years. I gather that you're not one who does a great job separating your personal life from your professional life. Is that true?
It all runs together in there because I love Sanford and Lee County, love the Chamber of Commerce, and that's true whether I'm at work or whether I'm at play. And I like to spend time supporting the local community. And you look at it, the people of Sanford and Lee County are just some of the finest folks you're going to find around anywhere. And anything that we can do to make Sanford and Lee County a better place to live, work, and play is an advantage to all of us.
Well, I know that you've long been respected in the area. In fact, you were named last year the Chamber Dedicated Service Award recipient, the first ever. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well deserved. I know many for a long time have appreciated your contributions and your involvement and your positive voice on behalf of the people of Sanford and Lee County.
Thank you. The people of Sanford have been very kind to me.
How does your wife feel about your active involvement over these many years?
She's been my main number one backer.
You've been married how long?
68 years.
68 years. Married in 1948. Your wife's name is what?
Esther.
Esther. Well, you've identified another song for us that is actually a love song of sorts. Speaking of being married for 68 years, Blue Velvet. Tell us about that song.
Well, this is just a beautiful love song, and I love my wife, and I wrote a poem expressing it one time. But this song, among other love songs, expresses that feeling, and it's just a beautiful song.
I think you've said it all. Let's hear the song, Blue Velvet, by Bobby Vinton. That was Blue Velvet by Bobby Vinton. If you're just joining us, this is Grace Notes. Our guest today is Hal Siler. Hal, longtime head of the Sanford Area Chamber of Commerce, former director of Public Works, oldest active registered surveyor in North Carolina, and husband to Esther for 68 years. Hal, I'm guessing you must have been pretty young when you were married.
22.
22. Well, let's see. 22 plus 68, I guess that makes you 90 years old.
That's pretty close.
Your birthday is when?
December 13th.
December 13th. Very good. I understand that there is a street in Sanford named after you, Hal Siler Drive. How did that come to be?
Well, we were promoting industry in Lee County, and we got a piece of land from the Wilson family down on Wilson Road, and we cut it up into industrial sites, and the Wilson family named the streets. Then they named one after me. They probably thought that'd make me work a little harder to sell the sites, but that's the way it got its name.
Speaking of economic development in the area, I understand it was during your tenure that the airport came to be.
Yes, Bob Joyce was working with the county at the time, and when they started working on the airport, they put Bob and I with the responsibility of seeing that it got through its various steps, which we were fortunate in getting that airport for Lee County.
What year was that?
95, I guess.
Uh-huh. Well, I know the airport in Lee County has a fine reputation as an excellent facility.
Yes, it's a fine airport.
Known now as the Raleigh Exec Jetport, I think.
Yeah. Bob Hughes looks after it. He's been the economic developer here too, so and all of it works together.
Speaking, Hal, of not keeping separate one's personal life and professional life, I'd be interested in, and I'm sure our listeners would be interested in, having you tell us something about some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your years professionally, personally, whatever challenges may have come your way, and how you handled those.
Well, one thing with the Chamber of Commerce, and this is always the case, is raising the money to keep it operating. City manager asked me one time, said, "What's the difference between being city manager and being Chamber of Commerce, Ed?" And I said, well, with the Chamber of Commerce, the people join the chamber voluntarily, and that makes it you have to get out and work for it and convince the people that it's a good investment, and it is. But it takes a lot of effort from the membership committee and from the board of directors and from all those concerned to keep raising enough money to keep the Chamber of Commerce open and operating. And then we had the challenge of when we was going to the river for water, we had to convince people that this was a good investment, which it was, and they voted overwhelmingly for it, as I said. And then I was trying to think of what other challenges there, but money and people and all of those involved.
Well, a lot of what your life has been devoted to involves advocacy, it seems to me, advocating for the chamber and various projects and so on. And successful advocacy takes more than just presenting facts. There's something about the way things are presented and the character and values of the people doing the presenting that make a difference.
That's right. The people have to be convinced that it is a wise investment and that the steps that are being taken are for the overall good of the people of the area.
There is a current active debate in our country generally about the level of civility in political discourse. What do you think about all that?
It's foolishness, because you don't accomplish things by beating each other up. You accomplish things by working together in a cooperative manner and deciding what's the best course of action, and then everybody works together in order to accomplish it. So we need to get back the civility somehow of our people, especially the politicians, so that we can work together to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish for our community and state and nation.
If I could shift gears just for a minute, understand that you've had some health issues recently. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had cancer of the stomach, and they removed about half of my stomach, and they supposedly got it all.
That was about 6 months ago?
6 months ago. Still walking with a cane, and hadn't got my strength back yet, but I'm coming along.
I understand that you're not undergoing any continuing treatment, is that right?
No, by removing the cancer, you didn't have to go through therapy and that sort of stuff.
Well, I know that I speak for many, many out there in saying that we wish you all the very best in your continuing recovery.
I appreciate that. And as long as I'm around, I'll be promoting Sanford and Lee County.
You've identified another song for us, Moon River. Tell us about it.
This, again, is just a pretty song, I think. The melody is good, it's sung well, and good music, and it's just a relaxing type of music.
You claim not to be a musician, but it seems to me that anyone who appreciates good music can call himself a musician.
Yeah, I told my wife one time, I said, I'm not a musician, but I know when it sounds right and when it doesn't.
Well, Hal, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you for joining us.
Been an honor for me to be here with you.
Again, our guest today has been Hal Siler, and we'll go out with a song that Hal has identified as one special to him, Moon River by Andy Williams.
Moon River, wider than a mile.
You've been listening to Grace Notes, a special program here on Life 103.1 featuring people who may be relatively unknown, but who meet life's challenges in ways that brighten the lives of those around them. Our producer is Christina Dolan. I'm Alan Button, and we invite you to join all of us here at the station again next Friday at 5:30 for Grace Notes on Life 103.1.